My name is Bo Kim from IT Sen. Thanks for the time here. I understand that everybody wants to talk about globalization and future, but today I'm going to talk about a little old story, very old story about RWA. I want to call this the old future. I want to call this old RWA or initiative RWAs. I'm going to turning back the clock to Japan, Edo era. In Edo era, everything was changing. It was such an era that full of changes. People were moving around, and then, of course, assets were also moving around. And people started using these, I'd say, cryptos or currencies with gold, silver, like, you can imagine all these things. And if you look down there, these little things, these are the local currencies they started using back in Edo era. It was like more than 300 years ago. More than 300 years ago. They started using this. Just because those gold and silver are not really qualified. You don't really know if it's real. You don't really know how many kilograms are they. Like, it's not easy. So they started using these paperwork. Each local government had to compete each other because everybody was changing. Everything was changing. They were changing the capital. They were changing the ecosystems and everything. So everybody was competing each other. And that era was the golden age of Japan. It's even better than back in 1970s, actually. So they thought through it. Okay, gold and silver are good, but it's not easy for them to just move around. So they started using this paperwork, but they needed a standard. They started using rice right there, the actual rice that we eat. Because rice was the most important energy resource back then. Of course, it was very, very standard. It's like very stabilized, qualified. So they started using that. And with this localization, decentralization ecosystem, they started growing so fast. So fast. I mean, before I jump to the next step, I want you to imagine what really happened in the past. We're talking about more than 300 years ago. I'm not talking about future. I'm not talking about globalization. I'm talking about local in the past. Of course, it was RWA. Rice had to be stored somewhere else. So they started building up these rice warehouses. Who was the first exchange? It's right there. Mitsui. They still lead the Japanese economy, right? And Konoike became, I believe, Mitsubishi. Correct me if I'm wrong. So they started competing each other. Of course, each local government started competing each other with rice. This is really, really famous picture. Every Japanese understands what this is, right? This is Dojima Market, back in Edo era. Again, more than 300 years old. But Dojima Market, if you look at their hands, they don't have rice. But they are trading rice. With what? The paperwork. RWA. The real RWA. 300 years ago. And they even started future trading. They did everything that we're trying to do here. And even information network service was there. The companies started building network services just like this. These telescope guys are actually, watching these flags to check out actual price from Osaka, Tojima. And then it took only a few hours from Osaka to Tokyo to check out actual price, the real price. Well, it was not this slow, right? It was fast enough for people to understand what's really going on. So I'm just trying to say that what people were trying to do back in the days and what we're trying to do here right now in Busan. They were even trading rights. Now, everybody's talking about like IPSTs, IP security tokens and everything. They were doing it. You can see the really beautiful old restaurants and really, really old companies in Japan because of this system. Those restaurants actually sold their business rights to other people so that they could just keep on doing their business. So we can see all these old beautiful restaurants right now. So it's not like family business. It's not like those masters that just keep on working on. It was more like RWA or ST business. I mean, this local economy system, of course, they pushed up the Japanese economy so much, but a lot of people think, oh, then central government lost the power. No, not really. They even had better oversight because of the competition. They had to open up every information. More information, the more oversight. The central government actually had more power than ever. We can always think about future globalization and everything, but RWA is not something difficult. It's not something hard to understand. It. We already had it. We've been living with it, and we're dreaming about it. Of course, now we have, like Mr. Lee said before, that trust is so important. But now we have the right technology called the blockchain. The blockchain will solve the trustless problem. I believe so, and I believe. Like I mentioned before, I want you to imagine what those Edo people were doing more than 300 years ago. And I want you to imagine what we can do for the future. And I believe Busan will lead it. I believe Pidan will make the next Silk Road. Thank you.